Ah, my crypto family, my beloveds. Yes, how are you? It's time to check in with you again. Indeed, the crypto era. Here we are. This is fascinating. The economy, oh my God, everything is coming exactly like, oh man, I can't get over. I've looked at so many indicators, so many. When I say indicator, I'm not talking about the lines on the graphs, I'm talking about gold silver ratios, gold oil, gold everything. Reset is busy, slow motion happening on you right now. I'm going to do the full eco release on the market sniper. This here is for the crypto sniper because it's Bitcoin. But Bitcoin does play a small role in all of this, not even just a small role, potentially a very big one in terms of the whole total reset game. But I'm going to just try to keep this just to Bitcoin for now and tell you what I think is happening. And we will cover that. So here's a chart image for you right in front of you. Boom, have a look. Okay, so what have we got? So essentially when you get what we call a very ascending HVF, which means there's a lot of buying pressure coming in here. This is on the Kraken exchange. My other charts are so busy. A lot of bespoke lines specifically for HVF method that I'm not going to use. But just look at this. It's slightly simpler for the layman who's not a typical hardcore technical analyst that loves to draw on charts like we do. We've learned to love our process. But what I'm saying is there was a lot of buying coming in under here. That meant you get what we call a fizzle setup. That means it doesn't make full target. It breaks, but it does so on slightly lighter volume. You see, you can't quite see the volume there. I've intentionally left it out, kiddies. It's too much information, but you know it, and I've shown it before in other clips. Or maybe that was to the premium community. I don't know. Not quite as big as the Smackdown over here. And therefore, it got just to what we call second interim, and then it failed. And then it had a little wind up, boom, smash, died at the 9K, came trotting all the way back to the 8K on most exchanges, not on the Kraken one. Then what's what we call funnel invalidation, which means the fizzling is not only not going to make target, it's now coming to the point where it's going to undermine the previous bullishness. So this was exhaustive, this buying. Instead of being the early stage in a major new tsunami, which could have been the case if we were having a whole bunch of new institutional money coming in, which was why we actually took the pop, and I was showing on BitMEX, I took about 2 Bitcoin out of this trade, but it could have been a lot more, and we were hoping that it might be one of two options. The high road being an absolute early wave of just mega institutional involvement, still not happen. Although we had a very good pump in the first part, it's only brought us to this stage. Now that was exhaustive, so we got the knockback down, then you got this rally. Any longs you still had, you should have been exiting out over there, particularly after that sell-off. You got kind of a flag or a rising wedge there, in fact, on Kraken, and then you smack down. You've run this level. This is a key level. There are 3 key levels on the way up. That one you've already shown as an invalidation. This is a key level. This was your accumulation levels. If you look at volume by price, we do a lot on volume by price. You'll learn a lot about it, but you can go, if you already know a little bit about it, you can throw it and you can see that was all accumulation. So this level here is that below all this high level of accumulation that was taking place. There was a battle royal there. There was some selling. There was continual distribution above the 8K. 8K. Bitcoin is choking on 8K like that. None of those big fat antibiotic pills in your throat that taste goddamn awful and you can't get it down. They can't deal with it. They ran and touched the other side of the wall there at 9K and they were done. They were back at the 8K, back through the 8K. And now we can't live above the 8K. This is called rising wedge structure. I've drawn this line already a number of times in my community, and now you can see the break of that wedge. What typically happens is you get a slight return move. So everyone goes, no, we're fine, give it more time, it'll come right, it's just taking its time, it's getting a bit of a breath. Rising wedge structure almost always, especially in this kind of post-exhaustion level, is going to lead to a breakdown further. Now, the question is when it breaks down, will it do a rally and just break down to here, this neckline? That blue line, 7,500, 8,000, 9,000. Key levels of significance, your round numbers, remember that. And what does that give you? Well, it gives you a neckline there, and you would have come all the way from about 9.1 on most exchanges, a bit below 9.1 on Kraken. So you've got just over from there to 7.5, just over $1,500, going at about $1,600. $1,600 of 7.5 is going to take you to sub 6K. It's not even on the chart here. Let's clear the wipe our face a bit and go a bit down and talk a little bit more about this. So sub 6K, whoa, you won't like me saying that. You won't like him that says it. I'm not saying that Head and Shoulders always perform to targets. I'm just telling you that's what it's throwing out there as a potential option. That's on that neckline. God forbid that turns out a structure and it bounces off this and shoulders again, because you could be having a bounce for a deeper dive, even still. And if you want to know what that number would be, it's down here. As I say, this doesn't typically follow through. In my view, we are in a re-inflationary environment for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is finding its mojo again. So I'm not actually expecting that, but you got to remember that we broke from about 4,500 some time ago. Let's see how long ago it was. There you go. 4912. Actually broke a bit lower. It was 4.5s, wasn't it? 4.2s. There we go. 4.2. That was the level at which we broke it. So a little bit of history. So you could, in fact, come down to 4.9 and still be well above the break. And in actual fact, there's no such thing as buy bad price behavior. Let's get this set back up a bit, because you're seeing just such a terrible looking chart. Show them nicely, Francis. Show them nicely. They want to see nicely. Yeah, so we'll expand that time frame, but just I have to go out to show you a little bit how it looks. So there we go. That was that key level that was running there. Now, that would be a big juicy pullback, folks. It's not to say it would be a big juicy pullback. If that Head and Shoulders, if it turned out to that neckline, even just this neckline brings you to 5917. So what about the alts? What about the alts? All the alts, all the alts. But remember, your God market is Bitcoin. Your God market is Bitcoin, and if it craps the bed too heavily, it's very hard for all the others to stay in the game. It still stinks up the room. Even if you have a look at Total 2. So Total 2 is excluding Bitcoin. Generally, it had a slightly better structure, but it was slower to get going in the beginning. Remember, Bitcoin leads on all of these things, but it also has the same problem. That was a slightly more symmetrical structure, still missed the target. That's a fizzle, and that's because Bitcoin was fizzling. Normally, if this was a standalone equity, I'd expect it to make target, but then it had Bitcoin leading it. You had your falling wedge, you get your little bump out of it, but now you're in the soft right shoulder. I doubt you're going to see that high again. It's lower than that one, and now Bitcoin is off, and this is off too. So it comes back down, a little bit of a jiggle and a ziggle. This is what could happen. You can get a sell-off, bounce, rally, bounce, and then really low, and then you get the downside break. And you're sitting here with that left shoulder, that head, and potential right shoulder that is maybe incomplete here. And the neckline implied on this one is around there. So that would see you on about 116 billion down to 96.8 billion, call it 97. And you're still gonna have some fall. You're gonna have about 16 and another 319 to the downside. So call it 20 off the 97. You're going to be at 77. It's going to be a most unwelcome feeling if you were to end up back down there. And if you've got to bear this in mind, you're all getting excited about Litecoin. You're all getting excited by Binance Coin. Yes, they may not go down as much, but that is percentage terms a nasty little bath for all the cryptos. How does that dovetail in with the fact that we said Ripple was holding up quite well? Well, Ripple didn't get as much of the upside. It may not get as much of the downside, but if the whole crypto contracts, it will contract to a degree as well. So let's just check in on Ripple Bitcoin. You can see that it's come back all the way down. Some of it's fizzle. And as I warned when I did the bullish Ripple version, I said rather this little fractal is quite disproportionate. This might extend into a bigger 2 while you're waiting. And that down leg comes with any of the selling now before you get some basing structure and you go up. And that's what's pretty much what I expect is potentially happening with the Ripple right now. So that is Ripple. Let's have a look at Ripple against the dollar on its own against the fiats. And remember, the yen is stronger than the dollar. We're going to do a nice reset on the market sniper. I'm going to show you all my recession indicators, and you're going to get something out of that. And I can tell you, it's a fascinating time, and the day is coming closer. So again, this could see Ripple visit down to these levels and make a new low 2 for me. So it could drip down through somewhere here. I would just expect it, if it's not too great, to not run the 35s, which from 40 is still a fair percentage it can come off. I'm not saying it will go that far, but I'd like to see. I'd have a reasonable chance that that stands on any Bitcoin sell-off, but it could be worse, and it could spoil this and come all the way, take back this entire fractal breakup to the upside as well. It's done that many times before on spikes before it has to recycle again to build strength. Look at these spikes coming all the way back down, all the way back down. That's a bit of a bad view, Francis. Do it daily and squeeze it up. Let them see properly. Let's see properly. So there you go. Spikes returning all the way back. Spikes returning all the way back. I've shown this grind line. This could just be a more extended version. So for Ripple's bullishness to survive, it has to get past, it has to hold that 35.87.4. Just to hold a level apart from sitting on this grind line that we've been observing since August. And being really flat bottomed low, and in fact even slipping through it. So a lot of these alts will still take pain if Bitcoin runs into a headache. So yeah, caution now. So what do? Well, this is very top line. This is what we're doing. So some of the things that we've invested in, we want to hold. We don't want to keep getting in and out. So we actually take shorts on Bitcoin to the value of our investment. It's like a hedge. If you don't know what you're doing, be very, very careful out there, certainly. But then any sell-off, because we don't want to get out of all our investment positions, just means we can take off a leverage trade. In fact, I'm going to over-hedge so that I also make a bit of profit on it. That means I sell more than I currently have exposure of Bitcoin. That's something you can do. And remember, if you have some alts and you want to keep those, they have a higher beta. They might go down further than Bitcoin. All the more reason you might want to over-hedge just to maintain 100% hedge. Did that make sense? In other words, some of your alts might go in percentage terms further and lose more money than Bitcoin ends up losing in this down leg. Therefore, you would have to short more Bitcoin, or you just go to that particular coin. If you're holding Ripple, short Ripple for the same amount and 10%. Make a trading profit on 10% of the size, hedge your loss to the downside, close the trade, and then when Ripple comes back up, your investment Ripple that you've held all the way through goes back up. That's just an example of how you might play it. But a little bit of an ominous structure and real death at the 9 and real pain to try hold the 8. Which is pointing to a new level that needs to be sought now that the surge buying that came both here and then subsequently in the parabolic move along here, when we were eating our way through the 6,500, 6,700 mark, we started getting our first warning there. Second, we kept the buy the dip guys came and did the exhaustion here, and since then it's been the bears that are more in charge. Since this slap down at the 9K, it's the bears that are in charge, and this rising wedge is very likely a right shoulder on balance of probabilities to me. That means further downside for Bitcoin. You've heard it. Take appropriate action and defend your wealth if you are engaged, but this is not advice. I'm not an advisor. I'm a very naughty boy. Anyway, back on the reset sniper stuff. You're going to love that, and it's going to have a little bit of crypto, a little bit of gold. Go check the market sniper for the gold vid. Go check the reset sniper for YouTube closing us down. Those that threaten state. Oh dear, hate figures. Undermining figures, anti-Semites, white nationalists, and neo-Nazis. That's us. Too much truth, he said. Okay, I'll see you on the other side of this crypto YouTube clip. Hope you enjoyed it. Go to themarketsniper.com if you want to find out more. We were trading gold live as it was breaking. We loved it. Gold is back in the game as well. Go check that vid. Bye for now, guys.